Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World, brought to you by Ace Podcast Nation, and of course, Cardiff City fans. Today, we are previewing West Bromwich Albion versus Cardiff City tomorrow night. It's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, as I've said a few times now, normally these would be pre-recorded, but just due to time constraints and things like that, especially with the midweek games, we just got to kind of do it on the fly and do it live. So it's a short, sort of sharp 20 minutes or so as we preview the games. We have a look at West Brom, we have a look at Cardiff, and we kind of go from there. As you can see at the bottom, luxury Cardiff City pennants for sale in aid of Cardiff City Disabled Supporters Association. They are individually packed, top quality, available via Twitter or X at CCFC DSA, or you can do it by email. Emails below, or you can contact Martin Davis directly at the Premier Bluebirds Facebook group. They are top quality. We gave a couple away on the channel last week on the Cardiff City phone in, and of course on the Cardiff City World podcast as well, which will be this Wednesday. So this week, because we've got a midweek game, we had the Cardiff City phone in earlier on. That's the Monday content. We've got a bit extra bit of content with this. Tomorrow night, we'll have Super Kev Unscripted, episode number 2, series 1, which is obviously a re-upload, but they're quality and they're funny. And they get better and better as me and Kev did more stuff together. So I urge you to check them out every Tuesday. Wednesday then will be it won't be the Cardiff City World Pod. It will be the post-match show from the West Brom game. So basically, instead of doing it at like 10 o'clock at night, we're going to do it the next day, Wednesday, with Matt and Rob for the post-match West Brom game, which could be painful, but we'll discuss that in a minute. And then Thursday, before I do Rhodri Giggs on Football Show on Ace Podcast Nation at 8 o'clock, I'll be doing the Cardiff City World Pod at 7 on Cardiff City World. And then Friday will be Michael Chopper Part 2 and the preview for the Saturday game. So there we go. That is the week schedule for Cardiff City World, full of great stuff. And hopefully, if you checked out the Cardiff City phone in earlier on, if you didn't, then it's up for download for audio version, or you can go back and watch it on the channel. And of course, we had loads of vlogs. Shout out to Katie as well, because she did an awesome 10-minute or so video. It was in total, which was just a series of videos which she filmed throughout the day. And I know her and her sister are doing a West Brom one tomorrow, traveling up there and stuff. So that's going to be awesome. We'll have those as well. So if you do want to get involved on the channel, you want to send videos, whether it's predictions, whether it's opinions, whether it's vlogs, whether you just like to get on the post-match shows, get in contact. We want as many fans, all views welcome, as long as you're fairly coherent. You know, Rob's not very coherent, so you don't need to worry too much about it. But as long as you can kind of hold a conversation, get involved. Let's do it. It's the more the merrier. But it's only a short one because it's the preview, so let's get into it. West Bromwich Albion versus Cardiff tomorrow. A very, very interesting game. Cardiff City's away form has kind of held their season together, whereas West Brom have been doing quite well. They started off a bit rocky, if I remember correctly, but obviously up in the playoff places now. Going to be a very difficult team to break down, especially at home. But we'll have a look. Obviously, both teams harbouring hopes of reaching the Premier League again via the lottery of the playoffs. West Brom will do battle with Cardiff at the Hawthorns Tuesday night in the Championship. The Bluebirds shared the spoils with the Baggies. No, they didn't. I'm lying. The Baggies shared the spoils with promotion rivals Ipswich on Saturday in a 2-2 draw. Cardiff's home form continued to be dreadful. Not just bad, it is diabolical. I talked about it in Sunday's show, which on Sunday I do 5 things we learned about the game before on the Saturday, and Jesus Christ, it was depressing. But there we go. I really like the way West Brom play football. I really like their manager. I can never pronounce his name. Cobron, is it? They've got a couple of good academy players. Nathan Broader, John Swift in there as well. Some decent players. It's going to be real tricky for Cardiff to get anything from this game. West Brom will look at it and they will, on paper, they will fancy it and they'll be like, yes, Cardiff, not in the greatest of form. So there for the taking, obviously. But doesn't always work out like that, particularly in the Championship. And most of all, it doesn't always work out like that when Cardiff City play the big boys away from home. We've had some real good results away from home. And I think that we're all hoping that away form will kind of continue. But in terms of how West Brom play, they kind of set up in the similar sort of system to Cardiff in that 4-2-3-1. And in that system, the basis of it to work well is the double pivot in front of the defence. You have a holding midfielder who does a lot of the dirty work, and then you have a number 8 or a traditional number 8, like a box-to-box midfielder who's aggressive but technically good and kind of dictates the play. And then you have 3 creative or attacking players behind a target man or a striker. And West Brom have got a real good target man. Daryl Dike is in great form, scored a couple of goals against Middlesbrough fairly recently. He's big, he's strong, but he's very quick and he's strong, but his touch is sometimes, as you often find with kind of players who are finding their way, young players and like, he's 24 years old. He's a big boy, like I said. And I think he's 23 technically. He's 24 in June. But like, sometimes his touch is not that great. Sometimes it's a bit heavy, and particularly when he's under pressure. So I think if the likes of, it'll probably be Phillips and Gutas. Gutas particularly likes to get really tight to defenders. He was very clumsy against Preston on Saturday, Gutas was. But if I'm him, I'm looking to get super tight to Daryl Dike. Don't give him any time to turn, because he can get at you. Is he? Daryl Dike's out. There you go. I didn't know that. Excellent. I just see now as I just Googled his name. He suffered a ruptured Achilles. That's getting great. Nice with Sloper Road Blues. So that's good. That's incredible, in fact, because I think he was going to be problematic. But they've still got some good players. Thomas Ashanti obviously came on for him on the weekend. They got a couple of really proven like championship players. Ruptured Achilles is nasty. That's what Rhodri did last year, and he was walking around in a boot for what felt like the whole year. But they've got some wicked players. They got JJ, obviously, is a familiar name. They got on the bench on Saturday. This was West Brom's bench on the weekend, right? Just for comparison, Button, who started off the season as their number 1, a JJ, Reach, Thomas Ashanti, Albrighton, Chalabar, and Gardner Hickman. All of those are good players. A few of them are like championship proven as well. Shout out Daryl Dike. Just seeing that it's this. Oh, there you go. Just saw in the comments as well. His second ruptured Achilles in 2 years. That's brutal for a young man, and he's been having a decent season as well. So I'm, disappointed for him, but not disappointed that we won't be facing him, because I was concerned that he was going to give some trouble to some of our players, shall we say. West Brom, though, have got a really good double pivot in Yoksulu and Malumbi, both very technically good, both strong. And that's where everything starts for them. You'll have Furlong will push up a bit more. He'll be a bit more attacking, I think, than Townsend, but both fullbacks are decent as well. And this is another reason, so it'd be interesting. Like, I'm going to talk about what team I would play, but there's a reason why I would play a slightly different team, perhaps to what people will expect me to select. And one of the reasons is because their 2 in the midfield is so good, and it's vital to getting the ball to Swift and Jed Wallace, and Diane Garner as well is another one. Like, they're all championship proven players who are very, very good. And then when you can bring in the players like Thomas Ashanti and Albrighton and things like that, it's going to be a real long night for Cardiff. And I'd be lying if I said I was confident. I got to say, as good as Cardiff's away form has been, it's going to be very difficult. I noticed that Kipre didn't play against Middlesbrough. Did he play on Saturday? Because Kyle Bartley, he went off injured. Let's have a look. Ipswich Town 2-2. Let's have a look at their most recent lineup and see. Kiefer Moore. Yeah, so and look at that. Like I was looking at the team from the Middlesbrough game. Yeah, Kipre and Bartley in there. I hate seeing these like a JJ and Kipre in there. So just back on it, Thomas Ashanti, who played up top against Ipswich, he's a really good player. Big fan of him, and he is capable of causing a lot of damage. But I tell you who I think could really cause us some problems just by the kind of way that they set up and the way they play is Fellows if he starts, because they do sometimes got like Jonathan Swift in there and a couple of others. Swift was on the bench on Saturday. So I'm going to obviously guess the West Brom lineup. I'm going to go with like what I think they will do, but obviously I'm less familiar with them. I think it seems they prefer seems they prefer Palmer in goal, and then you've got the Furlong and Townsend as the fullbacks. Very, very good fullbacks, championship level. And then it's going to be Kipri. Doesn't look like Kyle Bartley will be fit, but I don't know. We'll have to see about it. Chabala came on for Bartley at half time when he went off injured, so I'm to assume I forget which Chabala. Someone will remind me which Chabala is that. Is it the one who plays defensive mid, or is it the one who plays more in defense? Let me know. I'm assuming it's the defensive one. Trevor, I don't know. I get mixed up. But they've got so Yoksulu, I think, will definitely play in that double pivot, and then it'll either be that Mowat, and then they've had a couple of different people in there. It looks like the most recent game they played Mowat, and Mowat's quality, so I think those will probably be the two. And then Jed Wallace will definitely play off the right. I would personally play Fellows off the left, and then I would pick from Swift or Weinman in that sort of number 10 issue. Weinman's super good, experienced footballer, very, very dangerous, got the guile to do some damage. But and then Thomas Ashanti up front. That would be what I'd expect them to line up. Obviously, they might chop and change. They play good football. Their manager is very detail orientated, so they will know how Cardiff play and they will have a plan. So one of the things that I was critical of on Sunday about the Preston game is that our manager doesn't seem to have a plan B. So the possession-based football playing from the back isn't working at the moment, especially against teams like Preston who just sit in and don't really press. So it caused us a hell of a lot of issues because we just go side to side to side because they're not pressing, so you don't play through the press. And I also said before that Preston game, Preston are going to sit in, they're not going to press. You've got to mark Classic Janssen, and you cannot give him a chance to get on the ball and get his head up. He gets 2 assists. I also said they don't need a lot of chances. They will be very clinical. They had 2 shots on target with about 80-minute mark, and they were 2-0 up. I also said that we needed to be quick in a transition and get down the sides of Preston behind the wing backs because their wing backs play really, really high. And lo and behold, it is all they almost play like a 3 and then a 5. Like their wing backs play super high. But we never did it quick enough. We never moved the ball quick enough. Our wingers come in too narrow, which again will play into the lineup, which I would kind of go with. But in terms of West Brom, a lot of it will come down to that central area. We need Siopis to have a big game. Hopefully Turnbull will be in there. And then whoever plays 10 is obviously have a big responsibility of getting close to Yoksulu and Mowat and not letting them dictate the play. It's going to be a vital area. Furlong and Townsend like to get forward, and I feel like we can get at them and get around. One of the very few positives that I was able to take from the Preston game is Jeju was, as I expected, very, very good under pressure. When the central defender was up his backside, he was still able to get the ball under control. He just had no movement off him. So I think we need to utilize that because Kipre will get real close to him and will be touch tight. So they've got to use the fact that he's got such a good touch. doesn't look like he's going to be a centre forward who gets in behind. So he's going to drop in, receive it to feet. We've got to have movement off him. The wingers have got to get behind the fullbacks, and those fullbacks will leave spaces, especially if bloody our fullbacks just constantly cutting in. Like those two fullbacks will have an absolute field day. Wallace likes to start wide and then cut in. Fellows is a little bit more creative, a little bit less direct, I would say, than Wallace. But all three, Fellows, Wyman, and Jed Wallace, and I'd include Jonathan Swift in there, very capable of creating and scoring goals. So again, that central area is going to be vital. In terms of person to watch from the West Brom side, I'm tempted to say Jed Wallace or Wyman, because I think they're so good at this level and they're so consistent at this level. I also, with Fellows, I'm a big fan, but I'm going to go with Yoksulu. I apologize if I ever pronounced his name wrong. But I think the way he dictates the play and looks to really imprint himself on games, everything kind of starts and goes through him, which West Brom are very, very good. And down that right-hand side with Furlong and Wallace is going to be a real danger area. And it's one of the reasons why, as much as I was saying on Sunday that I would give Jamalu Collins a rest and play Wilson Esperand, I've got a feeling Collins plays because that right-hand side is so dangerous. But I guess we'll see. In terms of the Cardiff City tactics, lineup, etc., look, we're all very, very disappointed with the home form. I think there's a real need for some urgency and some aggressiveness in that home play. But also, as I said on Sunday, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but for anyone who didn't see, I said going direct doesn't mean lumping the ball up and becoming a long ball team. If you've got a team like Preston who sit in, sometimes going a bit direct, if your wingers are high and a diagonal ball, we got some real good passes in the deep areas of the pitch. Siopis is a good long passer. McGuinness obviously is injured, but is a good long passer. Phillips is a good long passer. NG is a good long passer. So you've got Jeju up there who can control the ball under pressure. Have your wingers high and wide, play diagonals to them and isolate them against the fullbacks, or even get in behind the fullbacks. Not everything has to be side to side or possession-based football. And if you are going to play possession-based football, it's got to have a purpose. It's got to be with a bit of urgency. Let's try and move the ball a bit quicker. Cardiff have got to move the ball quicker. I'm fed up of seeing people have 4 or 5 touches before they pass the ball, waiting for players to get into position and be marked up or close the passing lanes. That's the big thing for me. Like, Bullett's got to have he's got to have a plan B. So if he sets up as normal against West Brom, which I can see him doing, he's going to try and keep it tight for an hour or so and then hope that we can hit him on the break or produce a bit of magic. That's fine away from home. But I want to see some purpose and some sort of game plan with the passing and the moving off the ball. I'm hopeful that if he plays Turnbull alongside Siopis, that will enable us to perhaps progress the ball up the field a bit quicker and get through those lines. Excuse me. However, one of the big problems for Cardiff, apart from the kind of the speed of their play, if you like, is he's reverted to this flat 4-3-3 a couple of times. I don't like it because it doesn't suit our players. It's not if you remember when we had that massive dip in form before Christmas, where he was switched to keeper and he was playing Rawls, Wintle, and Siopis. We had no creativity. It was just flat and very, very stagnant in terms of movement. So for me, that's an absolute no-no. He needs to match up the system that West Brom play in 4-2-3-1. So I'm going to buck trend. So normally what I would do is I predict what I think the manager's going to do. Today I'm going to buck trend and I'm going to go with what I would do. And I'll kind of explain why as I go along. So as I said, I would set up with the 4-2-3-1. Alnwick, obviously, I'm going with him until there's a reason otherwise. NG picks himself. Gutas, Phillips, we haven't got a choice because McGuinness is out. Hopefully, I think Phillips, with the minutes in his leg from Saturday, will be a bit stronger and a bit more match fit. And Gutas, I'm hoping that Saturday was just an off game for him because I thought he was bad. So every part of me wants to see Wilson Esperand in there at left back. But for the reason I stated earlier, really, the right-hand side of West Brom is very, very dangerous. The fullback likes to push in. You've got Wallace there. Weinman tends to sort of hover into that space as well. And I think Wilson Esperand is more of a kind of wing-back, attacking fullback. He's very, very good, and I really like him, but I wouldn't play him at left-back for this game, just because I believe that's a danger area for West Brom to get at Cardiff. So I'm going Collins. Then in the middle, I don't think there's any surprise that I'm going Siopis and I'm going Turnbull. Why we didn't see that partnership on Saturday from the start is beyond me for a whole variety of reasons. But they have got to have a good game. Siopis needs to do his thing as a defensive midfielder, put some pressure on Yoxilu, put some pressure on Moet to try and stop them dictating the game. But equally, more importantly, is when Townsend and Furlong push forward and overlap Fellows and overlap Jed Wallace, is Siopis has got to be the one sweeping up, particularly if it's on the counter-attack and the break, and he's got to give Collins a bit of support. So I think it's going to be a massive area for the midfield is going to decide the game for me. So I'm going Turnbull and Siopis. Now, this is where we get interesting. No Carlin Grant, because this is playing his parent club. Does Ramsey start? Does Bowler retain his place? Does Bowler does Bowler deserve to change his place? So I had a couple of thoughts over the last couple of days as I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking, one of my options was I said Saturday, Sunday, play Bowler on the left and tell him to try and isolate Furlong, get at him and try and utilize the space behind him when he pushes forward. Maybe even allow Bowler to cheat a little bit in terms of helping Collins to try and get him on the counter-attack in the transition. If we can win that ball on and around the halfway line, get in behind. But I just don't see that work rate from Bowler. So I would actually go with Wilson Esperand off the left. Because I think it gives you an extra bit of defensive cover. He's used to working up and down that line as a wing back. So I'd play him off the left in front of Collins, like he did on the weekend. And I think that could be a good way to, one, utilize his defensive qualities in supporting Collins and Siopis on that side, stop trying to stop the threat from Furlong and Wallace, etc. But also, if we do win the ball back and we can get in the transition and we can get him behind Furlong when he's pushed forward, Wilson Esperand has got some wheels. Like, he is a fast boy. He's skillful, technically very good. So Wilson Esperand off the left is for me. Off the right, do we stick with Bowler? Do we not? Do you know what? I would play. Do we give Mate a go? I would go with. Do you know what? I think it's high time. I think it's time we see Ollie Tanner. I think out of all the players, he just hasn't seemed to have a chance recently. I would start him off the right, and I would say, you go show me why you should be starting. You show me why you should be playing. Not just offensively, but defensively as well. I think Tanner, play off the right and do your job defensively. You know, give NG a bit of help, but also high and wide. I want him hugging the touchline. I want both the wingers hugging the touchline so that when Gutas, when Siopis, when Phillips, when NG, when Collins, when whoever's got the ball, they've got options. I want to see movement off the ball. I want wide wingers and I want movement off the ball. Number 10, I'm putting Colwell in there. I just don't think Ramsey's got 90 minutes in him. And I think the team would benefit more from Colwell's legs in the first hour and then give Ramsey half hour towards the end to get some minutes in his legs and whatnot. I know some people will disagree with that, and they'll say Ramsey should start. I understand that completely. I thought Colwell was desperately unlucky to be dropped again on Saturday. Every time he seems to get a bit of momentum, he gets rotated or dropped. And I probably, so I got Colwell 10, and then number 9, I'm going Jeju. His his hold-up play is real, and a real asset to me. And I think if he can, I thought he looked sharp. He looked quick. He looks quicker than Mate or Atete or anyone like that. So I'm actually quietly excited about Jeju. Maybe not for this game, but I think he's got goals in him, and I think there might be something there. I'll tell you just very quickly. I'll tell you my initial side. So my initial side, I had Ramsey starting. I had Wilson Esperand on the left, and I had Colwell off the right. But I decided that with Colwell off the right, I thought we might suffer with the same issue that Bowler gets, just constantly making the pitch narrow. Although I think Colwell does like to take up those wide positions. And as it stands at the moment, like obviously there's a few players who might change my mind. As it stands at the moment, if Ramsey's coming in at the number 10 position, I'm probably going to play Colwell in one of the wide positions to keep him in the side, because out of all of them, maybe with the exception of Karlan Grant, I thought Karlan Grant was one of the few bright spots on Saturday. Him and Bowler just go narrow all the time, and I would not be against, if he's going to persist with Bowler and Grant as his wingers, then swap sides and tell him to put some balls in the box, because Ramsey likes to arrive late in the box to support the striker, as does Colwell. So whoever's in the number 10 is going to be in the box. Turnbull likes to get forward. So let's put some bloody balls in the box. NG likes to overlap. Like, I'm fed up of these narrow wingers just cutting in all the time and having too many touches. So that's my side. I'm interested what you guys think. If you agree, you disagree. I'll go through it again very, very quickly. Alnwick, NG, Gutas, Phillips, Collins, Turnbull, Siopis, Wilson, Esperand left, Colwell's number 10, and Tanner right with Jeju up front. That would be my 11 for West Brom. And in terms of the tactical side of things, it's going to be massive. Colwell's going to have to work hard. But in that number 10 position, I don't want him dropping too deep. I want him on Yoskulu and Moet. I want him disrupting them. Sometimes, little niggly fouls, which you're not going to get him booked or anything like that. Nothing, just little frustrating fouls to break up play. Don't give him any time. Into him straight away, with Turnbull kind of supporting that as well, and Siopis just holding his position. That midfield three is going to be vital. And I do think if Cardiff can keep it quite tight for an hour or so, we've got players who can do damage on the break. But with Turnbull and Siopis and Colwell as well, there's three midfielders who like to press and like to win the ball. And if you can win the ball high up pitch and get Wilson Esperand or Tanner behind the fullbacks, catching them out of position, we should be able to do some damage. We just need to do things with a bit more urgency. Cardiff City, player to watch. I'm going to go with Turnbull. He showed little glimpses, but not a lot on Saturday. He comes with a high reputation. He's technically very good. He's very aggressive. And as I've said a few times since he signed, what excites me about him, apart from his qualities, he's also supposed to be a set piece specialist, although we didn't see that on Saturday, some of his corners. What excites me is what he might do for the people around him. On paper, with his qualities and his position, if he plays alongside Siopis, it should free Siopis to be Siopis, be that destroyer, that holding midfielder who just keeps the ball moving with the occasional diagonal. He should help NG. He should help Gutas and Phillips by receiving the ball. And he should also be able to help the wide players by playing through the lines, get the ball into Ruben Colwell or Ramsey, the number 10, in these dangerous positions that they pick up. Like I said before, Colwell constantly finds these pockets of space where he wants it, and Wintle or Rawls are not giving it to him, and then, or it takes too long, and then he drops deeper and deeper, and then eventually he's receiving the ball off the centre-back, and he's not going to do what he can do there. We need him on the edge of the box, around those areas, picking up pockets of space where hopefully the West Brom midfield pivot haven't sort of picked him up. And if anyone watched the United Villa game yesterday, Aston Villa did it really well yesterday. I've got his name, Leon Bailey, was just like literally just kept dropping into the space between the centre-backs and behind Casemiro and Mainu, and just kept finding that space and was able to create and little 1-2s, little reverse balls behind the defence, turning the defence so they're facing their own goal and they're under pressure. Cardiff have the players to go and get a result. They have the away form in the bank to show that they can do it, but it's going to be tricky. In terms of my prediction, it's difficult, right? It's super difficult to be positive after Saturday, but we're 5 points off the playoffs or 7 points off the playoffs. If we could find 3 points tomorrow, it would be massive, massive for Cardiff City. I will go with 1-0 to Cardiff City. Alnwick has been sensational all season. Phillips was promising on Saturday without being groundbreaking. Gutas hopefully was just a one-off. NG is NG, one of the best fullbacks in the league, and Jamali Collins has been solid. If Siopis can find his form alongside with a midfield partner alongside him who can do the kind of job that we're hoping he can, and we've got some attacking players to hit on the break, I'm excited for Wilson Esperand as well. But I'm going to go with Turnbull for your man to watch. I'm going to go with 1-0 to Cardiff City. I just fancy it. Fancy Cardiff away from home. I just fancy us to pick the pockets of some of these teams. I just wish all our games were away from home for the rest of the season. Guys, check out the pennants below, please do. And if you go and do buy one, please say that you came from Cardiff City World or that I sent you. That would mean a lot. Just so Martin knows that you guys are coming from us. You can also download every single bit of content that we do, apart from the vlogs and that stuff. But the daily content which goes out on the channel, you can download that at Cardiff City World on the Sports Social website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. Just search Cardiff City World. For Ace Podcast Nation members, if I'm jumping on there straight after this now. Literally, we'll end this and then go on there for the member show. If you're not a member, you should be. Patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. We'll probably end up talking about Cardiff for the next 45 minutes anyway. But we'll just talk about whatever on the member show. But you also get early access to tickets for live events, including the 10th of May, the next City Legend event presented by Ace Podcast Nation with cult hero Willie Boland returning to Wales, 10th of May, in the Rose and Crown in Pontypridd. Cannot wait for it. I'm so excited by it. There's still a few tickets left. The tickets have been going very well. 10th of May, £10 for a ticket. If you would like a ticket, obviously the early access is gone. But if you were a member, you were able to get tickets before everybody else to make sure you would get them in case they sell out. You can contact Snowy Insole at btconnect.com to get tickets, or you can phone the Rose and Crown pub in Pontypridd. Get tickets. It's going to be a sensational night, which I'm greatly looking forward to. I'm hoping to announce another City Legend event at another venue very, very shortly. It's going to be great. We're doing some bits over here. Cardiff City World, Ace Podcast Nation, whatever you want to do, we are doing it all. However, it's been a pleasure. Come on, the City. Let's fucking have it. Nice one.